In this particular lesson, we're going to look at how Native Americans were impacted by the Revolutionary War. Now, some of the other lessons in this course specifically talk about Native Americans' role towards the beginning of the conflict and the different ways that they were included in it or excluded in it. But this is going to kind of be a broad overview of the role that they had during and after the conflict. There were many impacts felt by the Native Americans before, during, and after the American Revolution. The outcome of the American Revolution in the newly formed government that arrived after its completion had implications for Native Americans that would last for decades. Learning about how the Native Americans were impacted by the American Revolution is important for making connections between their lives during and after the war. Why does this matter? Tracing back the history of Native Americans in North America shows that there's a critical turning point with the American Revolution and the new policies that followed from the government that was formed in the United States. So let's take it back to the beginning of the conflict. During the American War for Independence, the majority of Native American tribes sided with the British because they felt that they would be promised their land once the British ultimately prevailed in the war. The English crown had promised to protect native lands from encroaching white settlers, so many Native American tribal leaders believed that by partnering with the British they would be protected in the aftermath of the war. It was assumed that the British would prevail in the war, but Native Americans also did get involved in the conflict by taking up arms and fighting. At the outset of the war, both sides actually encouraged Native Americans to stay out of the conflict. By 1776, however, both sides were looking to partner with Native Americans. The majority of the Native Americans who did fight in the Revolutionary War fought on the side of the British, but all of those tribes, including those that did fight with the British and those that didn't, struggled in the peace following the American Revolution. The preliminary articles of peace that came out in 1782 didn't even reference Native Americans whatsoever, and the British had failed to set aside specific areas where Native Americans would be allowed to live peacefully, even though this had been promised in treaties signed with the tribes before and during the conflict. At the end of the war, the Iroquois and Ohio Indians had not surrendered or sustained a crushing military defeat, but the United States claimed victory over the British anyway. Since Native Americans were not represented at the hearings at the end of the war, their interests were not even factored into the discussions of peace, even though the American Revolution represented a major setback for them and they had people fighting in the war on one side or another. So they were virtually excluded from these conversations. Their tribes, Native American tribes, especially in the West, they would continue to be a military threat to the fledgling United States. There were numerous Anglo-American incursions well into the 19th century as a result of support from Spanish colonists. So there continued to be conflict between those living in the United States as Native Americans and the white settlers who had come over from England. This would really set the tone for quite a long period in America's history with tension over land especially. The continued resistance ultimately spurred treaties with the United States that would serve as the basis in the future for addressing illegal losses of Native American lands. When the land that had formerly been claimed by the British became available to settlers, more and more white Americans moved into the Appalachian West and attempted to settle the land there. This resulted in a lot of tension between Native American tribes. They had called this area home for many years, and the settlers were hoping to make a new way of life out there, but it was clear that attempting to work together did just wasn't really a good sense of cooperation on either side, even when the settlers claimed that they were going to be peaceful, or even when the Native Americans felt like it would be possible if they stayed in their separate areas. It just led to a great deal of conflict, tension over who owned what, really a lot of cultural misunderstandings about the different groups contributed to stereotypes and kind of pitting them against one another adversarially. Native Americans would continue to struggle for land, autonomy, legal treatment, and representation in the new United States for many years to come. Conflicts between Native Americans and white settlers would continue on for many years, and the Native American way of life would continuously be challenged by the desire to settle lands in the American West. Managing concerns of the Native Americans would also be a challenge that would have to be addressed not just by the state governments trying to figure out how to minimize conflicts and manage land out in these areas. It would actually have to be addressed by the federal government as well, especially when it came to rights regarding land and relocation. Unfortunately, the outcome of the American Revolution had lasting repercussions for Native American tribes. It would really influence their ability to exist, their ability to enjoy peace on lands they had settled, and it would really define a high level of tension between the two different groups of white settlers and Native Americans for many, many years, and a lot of cultural conflicts and challenges. And this is an issue that continues to be studied in research today.